Welcome to the Jeff Canada Show. But if you're going to get your feelings hurt, you might need to turn this shit off.
Alrighty, I'm here with my bud Slade Ham again. This is the second time. You're the first reoccurring guest on the show.
Ooh, fancy. You're already out of people.
No. I'm not even remotely out of people, dude. I have 2 more scheduled tomorrow, and then I have 4 scheduled for next week.
Nice.
So I'm not at all out of people. I just wanted to talk to you because you've got the special released. And, you know, you're doing the promo thing right now, and I know you don't really like to do these things all the time, so I figured strike while the iron is hot since you're, since you're promoting the special. The special.
It's out.
It's out, and it's great.
Thank you. It's so weird when it's like having a baby. Like it's the first thing I've put out in a really long time that I've publicly been like, look, I made this. I've been doing a bunch of cool stuff, but it hasn't been me. Right? You're working on other people's projects or making neat stuff or traveling a lot. But this was like, no, I'm going to take a year. I'm going to sit down. And it all happened over the course of a year. It was very fast.
I know. I remember when you first started talking about doing it. You're like, yeah, I'm going to do this special. And it was after you had done, it was before you wrapped Andy's special. But while you were in the middle of that, you were like, I'm going to do one of these for myself. Because I guess you learned so much about producing that special.
Well, and also I learned something too along the way. That so many times in my career, I've made something, right? I put an album out, I finished a tour, I produced something, and I've gotten done with it, and there's been this kind of like vacancy, right? Oh, wait, there's not a tenant in the room. I don't really know what to do. I was waking up every day, I was thinking about this, I was hungry. Now it's out. Mm-hmm. And I'm terrified of that headspace. I don't like it. It's an uncomfortable place to sit. So I was writing this special and already in that place before I'd finished Andy's because I knew the day we shipped that, I better have something I care about. So let me start thinking about my own. And it was the same thing with this one. Before we ever even put it out, I already had the outline and the new show and a date booked at the Improv. Like mentally, this special came out for me 6 months before it came out for everybody else. Yeah. And that's all just in this effort to keep myself moving, right? I feel like a shark. If I stop swimming, I'll die. And those are the spaces where I feel the most lethargic. Like, there's nothing. There's nothing on the plate. What do I do?
We don't. I see, as a musician, we don't have that because, well, some people have it. The ones that aren't releasing music on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. But like for me, when I'm releasing a song a week, a song a month, or a song every 2 months, you always have that, and you're always writing. It's easier. You know, it's different to sit down and write a 4-minute song and then go in and record it and put it out than it is to do an hour special.
Well, it's the same thing as when artists used to put out albums.
Right.
And you would sit there and you would come up with the 20 songs and distill it down to 12 and you'd release that and the singles might come out with a B-side on so you'd burn through the material. But how many bands do you know that, it's the sophomore slump because you got to write that next one. You've had your whole career and now you got to do this one. So I'm just putting stuff out in long form. If you were doing it, you'd have the same sort of vacancy. You're just doing it one at a time. That's a good way to beat it.
Well, I have a whole different opinion on the slump thing now that I know so much about the music business, sophomore slump thing.
Right.
The reason I think that is part of it, that, you spent 5-10 years writing this first album, and it comes out. Because really, if you go back and you listen to the second album of these bands, it's not any worse than, it's the same. It's just as good as the first one.
Pearl Jam's Versus was no slump.
I think Pearl Jam Versus was better than 10. And I hate to say that. Argument. And I hate to say that, but it just, and I think Vitology was just as good.
There were a few tracks on Vitology that I was like, but also that's a band who was really in love with writing music together.
Right.
Like those guys still, the last Pearl Jam album is...
they just released single last week.
No, the album's out. Dark Matter.
Oh, did it? The whole album?
And it's fantastic.
I haven't listened to the whole album yet.
They're dudes who sound like they like making music.
Right.
You hear that, like, he really enjoyed writing that guitar part.
But you can afford to do that when you do it the way they did it. But the problem is with most bands with bands that pop off, right? The bands that have that hit single. And I'm not talking about small market radio single. I'm talking about like major whatever. The problem is that there's so many greedy people with their hand in the bucket,
of course,
that it's very, very hard for somebody to dump $25,000 into an album, right? And then come around and dump another $25,000 into an album. So what you do is you have to get a label. That's what that was the way you had to do things. You had to get a label before social media and crowdfunding and all that stuff. So you had to get a label. that label would come in and say, okay, we're going to give you $3 million. You got to make, this is for a 2-record deal or whatever it is. You'd make the first record if it's all these songs, but then the second record, you've used that $2-3 million to live and to tour and to do everything, and then there's no money left to make the second record. Yeah. And so you make the second record, but then there's no money to distribute the second record. And so that's what I blame the sophomore slump on. I blame it on just the business more than I do the actual art, because most of these guys. Now, I guess it just also depends on what genre you're talking about.
Right.
The rock genre is a different genre than the country genre and the pop genre.
Right.
But for the most part, that's been my experience. I mean, just look at myself. I mean, I'm an independent artist. I have one full-length studio record out. I have one live full-length album out. I have enough material to put out 3 more records. But I don't have the $25,000 it's going to take to make the record, promote the record, and do all that stuff,
Right. Well, so
that's why I'm doing acoustic versions of songs and popping them out.
It's within comedy. It's the same thing, right? There's everyone that is an artist right now is clamoring for a piece of this pie. Oh, it's digital, so there's audience out there. And in these chases to do this, right, you're spitting out everything you can, throwing just bait after bait into the water and waking, nothing bit that. I better put out a gill net. And then you wake up the next morning, you check that, there's no fish in there. You're like, I better poke holes in the ice. And then you build a little ice hut. And you're doing all these things to catch these fish. And and you're not even, you don't even like fish. That's not even the thing you're really after. You want to feed your family, right? Yeah. I don't even like fish. I just want I don't want these people to starve to death. And that's what we are as artists. We're the family shivering back at home, waiting on the food to come in. And I just don't know that this modern way of doing, like, I think if we stop and go, okay, wait, what do I want, right? I tell jokes. To tell jokes, I need to do a couple of things, right? I want to preserve them for posterity. So I want to make specials. I want to record these in the form that, like, it's in my head. And to do that, I need people in front of me to get the show right before I record it, right? These are the things, they're unavoidable. Right. So there's a lot of ways I can do that, right? I can sit there and I can play this game, which is out there with the fishing poles and the ice huts.
The game I'm playing.
Which I don't know that it's the wrong game.
It's the wrong game.
It's
yesterday proved it.
Okay, so we'll get to whatever's got your panties in a wad in a second.
No, there's no panties in the wad.
But something's always got you like this.
It's funny.
So I'm sure it is, and we're gonna figure it out because there's always tomorrow there will be another one of these because you traffic in this. This is the currency that you put in your wallet, and I'm not saying it's wrong.
Right.
There are 1,000 ways to play this game, but the shortest distance between me and that audience, and then me and the next special, doesn't involve that.
Right. And that's what I came to grips with yesterday. Okay. So the way I started looking at things yesterday is I started looking at, okay.
You want to get this out. Spit it out. What happened?
No, this is the way I started looking. Oh, whatever happened. That happened is irrelevant. But what it was a catalyst for me to change the way I view things. Okay. Okay. Because you had been telling me this for a while. Like, sit down. You and I had about an hour conversation about a month ago when I had a little nervous breakdown. And you were like, sit down and figure out what you want. Do that first. And then if it's not getting you closer to what you want, stop doing it, right? So, but there's also that human element of being Jeff Canada. So,
no, of being human and trafficking in the dopamine that is social media.
Well, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking. So
no, who has to do the right thing and stand up for the little guy and speak his piece and kick their asses.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I want to bring this out. I want to bring this out real quick. So the way I've been my entire life before social media. Let's throw social media in the fucking closet for a second. The way I've been my entire life.
Does this rhyme with confrontational?
No. Yes, but I consider it more of a disruptor. Okay. Right? And I think that in order to make change, disruptors have to exist.
Sure.
Nothing changes if everything is just hunky-dory.
Absolutely
right?
agree.
There has to be disruptors. And when I was in the oil field, I was a project manager running $5 million a month projects, way bigger than any of the shit I'm doing now or anybody, or you know what I mean? Just monetarily wise.
Right.
I've always been that way. I was the guy that would go to a board meeting with an owner, a CEO of a multi-billion-dollar corporation and be like, no, That's not how it works. That's not right. Like when you take y'all's design, you put it down, you start building it, it doesn't work that way. And I would be the guy that would be like truthful with them. When you have all of these other people on my side being like, dude, don't fucking say that. You can't say that. We can't say that in front of the customer. Where I've always been like, no, dude, let's open the light. Like, you know, because I'm standing up for my guys in production. You know, those guys are having a hard time making this happen because y'all have no idea what you're doing, right? And so, and I've carried that. You've known me for 15, 18 years now. I've carried that through my entire life. I did it through the cover industry. I did it through everything that I do. I kind of look at it at how it is and say, okay, what is the fuckery and how can we get rid of it? Right. And that's what I do. And so now social media is just giving me a bigger platform to do that on. And so I'm the same as I've always been. I'm just doing it in a more, not global because I'm not global, but more, you know, I'm not doing it in a boardroom in a controlled environment. Whenever we walk out of there, no one knows what's going on. I'm doing it online.
Right. But is Jeff Canada, when he gets up in the morning, a Texas country musician, or is Jeff Canada Robin Hood of the digital forest?
I think both.
Okay. That's fair because to me, and I've been this guy. I've been the guy online, on the boards. I'm pretty sharp with a word or two. I can hold my own. I can make some people's feelings hurt. I've been that guy who's been able to correct some stuff. But then I stop and I go, wait a second. All of my interaction trying to correct all this bubbling terribleness at the bottom, right? And the injustices and the this and the that. Maybe it's not my fight anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe I have an emotional battery that's got so much juice in it. And if I give any of it in the mornings to this stuff, then I can only put so much into writing jokes and getting these ideas together and conceptualizing these shows and all the stuff I need to do me. And it's just kind of a decision where I'm like, maybe that's another guy's fight now. Maybe here's the torch, buddy. Hold it till your arm's tired because I got jokes to write.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I'm thinking at, but I'm also more digging in my heels. Like I'm kind of after what happened yesterday. So basically, let's just unpack what happened yesterday. I got a new phone number. Okay, this is my first time I've gotten a new phone number in 22 years. I don't know how to do this. I've never done it. I was 22 years old when I got this phone number, and I've had that same phone number. So there's hundreds of contacts in there, and some of them I haven't talked to in 10 years, right? And so I start going through my phone. And I start deleting contacts that I really don't want to have my new number. First of all, that's what I do because there's tons. And then after that, I go through and I start texting folks that I do want to have my new number and basically just say, this is Jeff Canada. I had to get a new number. That's it.
Lock
a simple text. Not even that. Just here you go.
Yeah.
You can then make up your mind whether you want to put it in your new phone, whether you want to reply, whatever you want to do. Well, I also, while doing that, I sent it out to some agents, right? Because I figure, what happens if these people try to get in touch with me and they don't have my new contact information? So I had one agent who's been in the scene for years and years and years. I've only used her one time. I probably shouldn't have texted her, because she's got a reputation, and I probably shouldn't have texted her anyway. I probably should have just left it alone, but I did. I texted her my number just in case, because we are desperate for gigs. Like that's one of the things that we are. As artists, we want to play in front of folks, so we need to have our information out there. Well, she sends me back a text basically saying, hey, I've updated your number and I enjoy working with you, which she only worked with me one time. She's never given me anything else. But me and most agents don't appreciate an update on a Sunday morning. And it was 11:15 at night. So I just politely said back, I said, got it. I said, in this industry, we don't have downtime. And I said, I won't reach out again ever. And thank you. Have a great day or something like that. And then she said, wow, whatever. And so I now Jeff Canada mode kicks in, right? Now I'm like, okay. And trust me, I wrote out 8 different replies.
And you sent one of them as,
and 7 of them had the word cunt in it. You know what I mean? And but
it was implied in the 8th.
So I just said it the nicest way I possibly could.
I'm never gonna reach out to you again. That's the nicest way you could.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Okay. The nicest way I could in that instance. And to be honest with you, I was so mind blown. It was a mind blown thing.
Okay.
Because I have never, ever, ever. I mean, I text people at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Turn your fucking notifications off if it bothers you.
Right.
But that's beside the point. So I get it. I get it. Whatever. So I took that post. I took a screenshot and I posted it on the internet. I didn't say who it was. I just simply said,
let's see how more snow sticks to this ball.
Yeah.
Keep going.
No. Yeah, dude, I get it. Trust me. I fucking get it. And then the fallout happens, right? And what's really funny about, I was just talking to Dwayne this morning, Dwayne Gaspard, our mutual
What's
friend.
the fallout? 90% of the people all had your back, and 10% of the people
Right.
lost
Well,
their shit. And
no.
some of it got back to her, and now agents are talking to each other.
No. I don't care about that part of it.
Okay.
Because I can tell you this: I've played well over 5,000 shows in my life, and I bet I've used an agent maybe 100 of those. So
Yeah.
I don't fucking care. And that's also why I have the freedom to be the way that I am, because I don't need those gatekeepers, because I got my own way and it works. And so, you know, I would like to have some of them. I would like to have some of them open their fucking eyes to what's going on.
But isn't the reason we spend so much time becoming independent the way you and I have, very much more so than a lot of our peers, right? I got friends who are very dependent on certain industries for their stage time. But isn't the reason we fight so hard to get to this point so that we don't have to interact with these people in this way?
It is, but this is what so basically after all this shit, the point that I was trying to get to, should I have posted that on the internet? Yes, 100% I should have. And the reason I say that is because back to this stupid fucking game we got to play, right? I got it's over 52,000 views on Twitter. I've never had over 100 views on Twitter.
How many albums has it moved?
But no, dude, don't
How
start
many,
that
how many
shit
tickets
with me.
has it sold?
No, I don't know, because I've just started, but I can tell you this much. I can tell you this much. Since I've started this whole campaign that I'm on right now, about 6 months ago, I've had at least 6 posts go viral, and the numbers of people that are showing up to my show are growing.
Fair.
Are they connected? I don't know.
There's no way to correlate what brings people into the shows, right? To say that this post or this or that, there is no direct marketing.
But what it has done, this is what has happened. Yes, I have, and this is what I told Dwayne this morning. What's funny is every time I burn one of these bridges, 6 more badass bridges get built.
Totally.
And so you can live in a world where you don't ever want to rock the boat, where you don't ever want to disrupt things, right? You play it safe. Okay? You can do that. That can be your thing.
Right.
Not knocking it. You do it. That's not the Jeff Canada thing.
Fair.
I don't play things safe. And what's really cool about this, about me speaking out about all of this stuff that I'm speaking out about, Texas radio, agents,
Right.
the real.
Can't you say this in a song though, metaphorically in the right way?
No, but here's the problem, dude. This is the fucking issue with the music industry, where it's different than the comedy. And let me tell you, and even Joe Rogan says this right now. A lot of the bigger comedians say this right now. Comedy is in its golden hour right now. You know, because of social media, partly, but obviously because people are finally not afraid to say things again, right?
Okay. I don't know that that's the reason.
Okay, but
I don't know that.
fine.
I don't know
But-
that anybody of. All right, I know.
But could you admit that comedy's in a golden hour right now?
It's wonderful right now.
Okay, guess what's not in a golden hour right now?
Music.
Right? We have totally screwed the fucking pooch
Tell
in
me
the music
what's
industry.
a golden hour for comedy? A lot of people are watching it on the internet.
Well, that, and I think people are going out to shows. I mean, just look at what he's done, and just taking him in particular, look at what he's done to Austin, and he's created a whole like mega comedy scene there that everybody's going to that rivals the old LA scene and
Austin had a pretty kick-ass scene before. So it's fair. There's some good moments in it, but it's in terms of what you can actually do and monetize and do it for a living. It's probably in the same state as music.
Yeah, I don't see it that way, but it's always grass is always greener, right?
Fair,
grass is
fair,
always
fair.
greener.
But
music, but really,
Put comedy below music for a second and
But music in general, it's just in a shit spot right now because it's no longer to become relevant, right? On a where you can sell 3,000 tickets. You have to play the social media game.
Fair.
You have to. There
Fair.
is no other way around it, right? And live music venues are closing down left and right, bro. Like I'm talking, whereas comedy venues are opening up left and right now. Okay, well that's what I'm hearing. I don't. You probably know better.
I'd love to know where they're at.
You probably know better than I do. But live music, real live music venues are shutting down left and right. Festivals that have been huge festivals are canceling now. You know what I mean? There's just all kinds of crazy stuff that's happening. And so when you have somebody like me comes in, I'm just a small little gnat in the
Right.
atmosphere. You know what I mean? My wing flaps don't
Sure.
they don't change much.
But they affect the area
Yeah.
beneath them.
Right. And it's funny to me that I'm basically told by society in general that I have to play this game, right? Because this is what you have to play. And then I'm told by society that's making me play this game that I shouldn't be playing this game this way.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're just like, okay, I get it. I understand. So you have to pick your battles, right? You have to start picking your battles, which I have. I've backed way down on certain things. And
I used to throw rocks at the trains by my house when they would stop on the tracks. They would stop, and I would sit there in the middle of the day, and I would be so frustrated, and I would get out, and I would walk over, and I would pick up one of those train track rocks and just go, ah!
Yeah.
And then go get back in my car, and it would make me feel better. And now I'm just they've doubled the tracks. There's twice as many trains by my house, and now they honk all night, every night.
Are you trying to pull a train metaphor on me right now?
No, I'm
Yes,
not,
you are.
not at all.
You lying motherfucker.
No, I'm really not. My point is now when they honk at night and they drive me nuts, I just have silicone earbuds because I realize my arm's tired of throwing rocks at something that's never going to move until it's ready to move.
But then that's the thing, though. That's a little bit different, right? Because you're talking about a physical object that's on a thing that's there. What I'm talking about, but
I'm talking about a
but
thing that's frustrating.
But I am
that
moving.
You feel like you can do something about.
I am moving the rock, though. That's what I'm trying to say. By me being the way I am, the train is moving.
Okay.
I'm up for Professional of the Year for the Texas Country Music Association this year. That has happened specifically because of me standing up for the art.
Fair.
Right? And so I'm being acknowledged on a much bigger level than I ever have been by being this way. Here's the thing, and this is where I've gotten to by thinking about everything yesterday. It's simple. There's me, and there's the person that my music goes into their ear hole. Mm-hmm. Those two people in the equation are the most important people in the equation. Period. End of sentence, full stop. Me, the guy that's putting the music together, and the fan that is listening to the music.
And you should be removing every piece of friction between those two, right?
Correct. Right. Now, what has happened is over the years, there have been certain levels of middlemen that come in between the guy putting the music out and the people listening to the music, or the people going to the festival, or the people going to the show, right? So where the fuckery for me is those people in the middle, and how do I get past those people straight to the ear holes? Okay? And so, I'm not doing this for them. That's what I've realized yesterday. These people right here, I'm not doing any of this for you. I'm not doing this podcast for you. I'm not doing my shows for you. I'm not doing the content that I'm putting out is not for you. It's for those people that are taking that into their ear holes, and the people that are enjoying it, and the people that become fans. Right? And this is what fans do want to see. And this is what I realized yesterday. Fans do want to see someone stand up for what they think is right. And fans do want to see somebody to say fuck you to those middlemen that are making it harder for them to consume the product.
Right?
It's harder for them to find new artists now. I mean, there's so much shit going out there now. It's because of money that those people are fine. So now it's not just the artists that are struggling to make what they want to make, because they have to have the fan base to support what they want to make. It's now the fan base is struggling as well.
Right. They now see where the problem lies, and you're helping them figure it out. And that makes total sense to me.
And so, and so I have taken on my shoulders two things. One is I want to be as transparent as I possibly can about my business to the fans. The fans love it. They love it. They love it. Okay? They support me with it. They share it. They comment on it. They have my back. They tell their friends about it.
The fans love the Gladiators too. I'm not making an argument that this is wrong. I know what it accomplishes.
That's fine. The fans love the comedy. The fans love they love but there's so much bullshit in the middle. So here's what I come up with yesterday. I don't care about you or your opinion. If you're let me be really clear about this. If you're an agent, or if you're a venue owner, or if you're a radio station owner or if you're a radio promoter or if you're any of those things, I love you and I want to support your business. Okay? I do. I want to support your venue. What I want is I want your venue to be a badass venue so that people will come to see us perform. Right. So that is a middleman we have to have, right? We have to have the radio promoter, right? We have to, because there's millions of radio stations you have to have. So you have to have all of these things. But they are not the most important person in the equation. And for them to act as if they're the most important person in the equation now is where I'm not going to deal with it any longer.
Good.
I'm just not.
You shouldn't.
I'm not. I don't care. You know, if you're a radio owner and you want to come at me and you want to bitch at me because I'm bitching about radio, I'm not bitching about your station unless you fall under the category of these people,
right.
This type of person.
Right.
You know, you're putting bullshit on the radio because of money, not because of art. Then so you know, I'm doing a 15-minute lecture or whatever, and then a Q&A afterwards at the Texas Country Music Association this year. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about change, and I'm going to talk about how stop fighting change, and talk about if everybody would get back, just take a deep breath and get back to the music first. That's what we all got into this for. And most of the people...
That's what I mean, that has to be, to me, that has to be the priority, because the art does. Because the gatekeeper, as long as art has existed, right?
Yeah, there's been gatekeepers.
We're the idiots who make it. We rarely knew how to we couldn't finance it on our own to begin with, or that's why there've been patrons all the way back to the Renaissance, right? Mm-hmm. You're the artist painting masterpieces. You got to live up in some rich dude's attic who owns the art and makes all the money and gets all the credit. I mean, this shit has been going on forever. It's our jobs as artists to educate ourselves on how all this works, right? To go, well, what are these middlemen doing? Why do I need a distributor in this case? Why do I need a manager in this case? Why do I need a booking agent? What is it they're doing, and what are they asking for in return? And am I willing to make that trade? And if I'm not, I've got to be willing to go learn their part.
Right.
That is just that simple. You don't want to hire a drummer? You better learn to sing and play the drums. Right. That's just, the song requires drums. Right. So that's the fact that we get all caught up trying to figure out which one of these middlemen to shoot with the sniper rifle. They're just, as soon as you do, his body falls. 3 other guys are going to swoop in because they learned to negotiate whatever comes after digital rights or whatever else. And we figured out how to turn your songs into a hologram and make them tickle people's feet. And that's the new thing. And we're here because we provide that service. I don't even know what a hologram is. I got to learn to turn my music into one. Well, shit, just take the 90% you're asking for. It's the same thing that ads have always done with businesses. When you look at how digital marketing works, right? If people are paying per click, there's an auction on all of these social media sites and on Google for how much a click is worth. And if you don't pay for it, all the other country artists around you are buying the same ads. They're taking that space. So you got to get in there. And that turns into this thing where the social media platforms are playing the middleman and sucking every last dollar of margin out of anything anyone's trying to sell. Well, that costs you $100 to make. You sell it for $200. We're going to charge you $99 to market that and make the one. So as soon as that model disappears, they'll all come swooping in again. That's the fucking game, man.
Right.
So for me, that's why the whole decision to just learn to create, learn to do the specials myself, learn to put them out, figure out the distribution side, figure out these little pieces so that I can just sit there. Then someone sends a text message like that, silicone earbuds go. It's just a train horn that if I remember when I go to text them again, yay. But the emotional energy for me, I just got to spend it elsewhere. And that's the stuff that has made the middleman conversation for me. I'm like, oh, I want to remove it. I'm right there with you. Let's get rid of every last one of these sons of bitches that exists. Yeah. And I think it just comes from make great stuff, have that audience, and then just spend your time trying to find the holes in the fence instead of begging some dude to open the gate for you.
I just look at life in general different than you do when it comes to that. Even with politics, it's not about. That's the thing. It's not about being confrontational. I mean, it is to a point, but I don't. Here's the thing. I don't get off on being confrontational.
No, you get off on making a wrong right. Like I know the motivation. Yeah. I know you are. I'm not saying that.
And if everybody just gets to, and that's where we are in this country in general, right? Mm-hmm. We're at this part in this country in general, and we have been for the last 35 years, where we're so complacent about what it has become that we just tune it out. We silicone earbud it, right? We just get to the point where we're like, there's nothing that I can do about it, so I'm not going to do anything about it.
Okay, if that's your approach, if that's someone's approach in totality, like that's a failure. But
that's where we are.
But you
can look at it. I mean, dude, most of the people that I talk to don't even have a fucking clue.
Oh, I agree. I'm not saying most people aren't there. I'm just saying within the scope of, you can't. Some people think they got to correct everything. Some people feel like it is their mission to go right every wrong because and the reason we do this is tribal, right? We're part of something. Our friends and our associates, the people we're around every day, posting things and saying things and showing us these injustices in the world. And it's our job to correct them. And it's our job to correct them in line with the rules of our team and our tribe, right? This is what we do. This can't stand. We got to go out and do our part. And I just think when people try and do it on such a grand scale like that, it all crumbles. If you go, I'm going to fix the way country artists are booked in Houston. That's something I think you can fix. I'm not saying you can fix it, like go out and fix it. But that's a problem that your attention directed in the right way could bring good to. Right. Saying, I'm going to kill all the middlemen is like, all right, buddy, let me know how that works out. Right. And I'm not saying that's what you're saying, but you have to be surgical about where that energy's going. Yeah. And if the goal is just to show the audience that you're willing to beat up the big guy on behalf of the little guy, that's fine, but know that that's what you're curating. That's all I'm saying.
It's not even that. Like, really, to be honest with you, it's not even that. It's not even that I want to take down the big guy. What I want to do is I want to be transparent in what it takes to do this.
Okay.
And as much as somebody like somebody, I don't know what they're called, but people that make documentaries.
Documentarian.
Okay, documentarian. Mm-hmm. Same as what a documentarian would do, right? They feel so.
What do you show them when this starts working? What do you show them when you're making $30,000 a show?
What do you mean?
I mean, like, what's the audience? Because right now they get to see the struggle and the frustration of trying to make it.
At that point, I tell you, dude, all of this is so I can shine a bigger light on people that have a bigger shadow. Like, for real, that's the way I look at it. Everything that I'm doing and everything that I will do and continue to do, and I will always have this, is to help out those artists that get fucked by these people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like you take all of the stuff that I've learned over the last 18 years of doing this full time and say, okay, how do I keep the next generation of me, make it a little easier for them, right? If that makes sense. That's my goal. And so the bigger I get and the more money I make and the more, if it blows up and I'm making millions, I'm dumping the majority of that money back into helping other artists. What I'll do at that point is I will start a label that is like a 10-20 or 20-80 label instead of an 80-20 label. Right. Like, I'm in for 20%. I'm going to not, and if I lose money, I lose money. That's okay. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not a greedy person. I don't need a lot. I don't want a lot. And, that's really, and I'm not trying to be holier than thou or Mr. Save a Ho or any of that shit. Right. I want life in general to just be easier for folks. Mm-hmm. And if I can make a small little dent to make it, like take that post yesterday. I took that post. If one agent reads that post and says, man, like, I need to think about the way I respond to people.
Right.
If one agent does that, then that post was worth it to me, because that is going to make it a little bit easier for someone down the road to deal with that person. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally.
So you know, I don't know how to, I'm not trying to be Captain America.
Which I'm not, by the way, disagreeing with a single thing you're doing, but as your friend who talks to you about this stuff all the time, I've got to poke holes in every last bit of it and make sure, I'm just making sure because you're thinking all this through.
Right, because you see what it's doing to me on a mental side of things. But also, I would also argue that right now I'm probably stronger mentally than I ever have been in my entire life because of this.
Totally.
You know what I mean? So I know that I dig my own grave a lot.
None of this is good or bad. I just always look at it in the sense of trade-offs, right? It's everything's a trade-off. Where I put energy here takes away from certain energy here. And it's not to say that when I look back, I look at the way I've played social media since it started, right? Mm-hmm. king of MySpace and the blogosphere and all of that. It was nuts.
Yeah.
And I looked at how I participated in it. And I looked at how I participated in this lit site I used to edit on and deal with the comment culture there. Some of that has been really beneficial in sort of bringing fans over, right? If I post something on Reddit, it tends to get a different sort of fan base reaction than something would on, say, TikTok, right? Then on you have these arbitrary rules to some of these platforms, right? No one knows how any of it works. I got a thing on TikTok that ran up to 250,000 before they decided it was, which is nothing, but it was the first thing that started to run, and then that gets kicked off, and you go, well, I appeal, and they go, oh, okay, cool. You win your appeal, and then they take it off for permanent, and they don't really tell you why, and you go, oh, is there anything I could do about it? And they go, no, and then everything you do after that gets 60 views. Like, that's
right. That's where I'm at right now.
Of course. So you sit there and you look at all the energy I want to put it. I feel like one of those monkeys where they put the keyboard in front of it and you press the buttons and eventually food falls out, and sometimes none of it correlates with anything. They just got monkeys pressing buttons. That's how I feel.
Yeah, that's what we are.
So the refusal to put that energy there, where I can look at something like a Reddit, right, which I can go in and post a longer form piece that doesn't get thousands of comments, but it gets 100. And those 100 all are reflections on an 8-minute piece that I wrote and about how they sat through it and what they want. And then I can go in and sort of hand guide those people where I want them. And suddenly they're real fans, right? Like legitimate, probably going to be with me for forever kind of fans, because I had an interaction with them. And I'm just, to me, it's always trying to balance that energy. I've only got so many. We're building the perfect band, right? You could, it's five points to have Prince as your guitarist. That's just how it works. And you're trying to figure out, well, who's going to sing then? I guess if we got Prince as the guitarist, it's going to have to be Bob Dylan as the vocalist, and just life sucks. But it only cost a penny. But that's what I'm trying to do with my life's energy, right?
Yeah.
I just allocating it in the right places so that when I'm done, there's something left over to make damn sure that the specials are coming out and the jokes are written and the book gets there. Because at the end of the day, I find myself, sometimes you go to crack your knuckles and get to work. You're like, I burned all my energy doing nothing. I posted 47 things. I talked to 187 people. I thumbs up a bunch of stuff. I got in 6 fights. I'm exhausted, and I've moved to nothing.
Yeah. And that's, I think, I don't know, man. I just get to the point where it's society in general is so on the brink.
You gotta look at social media the way we used to look at cocaine in the early 2000s, where it's just enough to get home, man. You can't just
it's a safety drug.
Yeah, you can't lock yourself in the office and be in this thing 24/7. But you need to. I got you. I understand. Yeah. That's the only. It's got to be looked at as some dumb tool. It's a horrible analogy, but no,
it's not actually. It's a perfect analogy. And I was on the Barry Lehman. I was on his show.
He's fantastic.
And there's like a little cut that's
Barry
about
on deck.
Yeah, that's about to cut. Yeah, Barry on deck. Y'all check it out. It's hilarious. And I was like, and I made this. I actually did this. I said so just because it's a funny analogy. I was like, yeah, so I have to play shows so I can make some more money, so I can produce some more content, so I can waste my time on the internet, so I can play more shows, so I can make more money, so I can produce more content. And I was like, and remember that old joke, that old drug commercial where like I can do, and that's kind of what it was. And so it's funny that you bring that up because we had literally just talked about that.
But that's kind of the win, right? Isn't that the fact? Granted, we all want the big stuff, right? We all want to play the giantest venues and make the biggest money and all of that. But like, there's part of me that kind of smiles at the fact that my whole every day when I wake up is my job to think of something cool enough to sell to the pub. Like, I got to find a way to think of something funny enough, capture it, and convey it in a way that other people see the funny I saw.
Right.
I don't know what that means. Maybe that's I write a quick post. Maybe that means I do a whole special. But my job is every day to get up and find ways to take what's in my head and turn it into stuff that I can pay my rent with.
Right.
And as long as I can keep that cycle going, peeling off enough to keep making more art, I'm not unhappy with it. I want it to be bigger. I
Right.
always want it to be bigger. That's what we're striving for. But I feel like as long as I'm making enough, where I'm really most comfortable, what makes me the happiest is creating stuff out of nothing that's right on the edge of my capability, right? Andy Huggins' special was one of those. I had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
The degree of difficulty I added with my own was that it was my own. Not only am I doing all of the production and the stuff that I've learned about, but now I have to write and learn an entire hour and envision this thing and get the aesthetics. I'm building all of this from the ground up. That's so on the edge of what I knew how to do. Now I'm kind of like, all right, well, what next? What's bigger than that? And I've got this new show that delves into stuff that's not darker, but deeper and kind of different than this last thing. And I've got some production components that I'm sort of thinking about. And that's what, when I wake up, as long as I can sustain working on that project, right? Wake up and find a way to move that a little further. Maybe it's a joke I wrote and a piece I figured out. Sometimes it's just a long walk I went on where everything congealed and I came back and went, let me talk this through on my podcast. And it turns into an idea that then goes to the shows. But as long as I'm chiseling away that's the stuff that makes me, that's where my soul feels satisfied.
Right.
Not even the fans coming on board or the responses or the likes. Like, that's special. When I put it out, yes, it's cool, man. It's 25,000 views in a month. It's moving. It's doing all the stuff it's supposed to be doing. That's exciting to me.
Yeah.
But more exciting is the fact that I can hit play and I see that little crackling 10 Forward Entertainment presents. And if you run it 58 minutes to the end, you hear the end of that Candlebox song and everything in between is some shit I created.
Yeah.
What else do I want?
Yeah,
That's
I get it. I get it for
I
you,
love it.
but like on my end, for me, what I love more than anything, more than creating,
Mm-hmm.
more than writing, more than any of that, what I love more than anything is me being on a stage and having a crowd that I'm just in sync with.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I chase. That's what I go for. Everything I do is for that.
Right.
It's not to write songs. Like if I can do that playing somebody else's music, that's fine. I'll do it playing somebody else's music.
Interesting. Okay.
You know, now I fell in love with the art of songwriting and creating and releasing stuff 100%. I love it. I definitely love it. And I definitely want to keep doing that. But the goal for me, my ultimate goal, more than blowing up and being a TikTok star or billions of being a billionaire, more than any of that, is for me to be on a stage with my guitar in front of a crowd that gives a fuck. That's what I want.
Fair.
And so that's where I'm approaching everything now. That's what I want. I want that.
Then what? Then I'm not. Then maybe this is the right approach.
You know what I mean?
Because at that point you're interested in your personality interacting with the live audience.
Right.
And
unfortunately, you got to play all of these other stupid fucking games to get to that point.
Well, except okay, when I go back to though, I think about bands that have never had crazy commercial success. Right? They might have had a
but
hit
it's
song.
different
well,
now.
But
I know what you're gonna say already.
What is that?
But you're gonna say bands like Dave Matthews or Guar. You know,
I would have gone even smaller than that. People like Shiny Ribs or Cowboy Mouth.
Yeah.
That put 300 or 400, 600 people in a room and throw a party. Right. Like it is everybody who's ever I saw Cowboy Mouth 25 years ago.
Me
If
too.
they played down the street from me tomorrow, I'd be right there.
Yeah.
I'd probably buy some red spoons. I don't even know what that means.
Yeah.
They just throw a party. Michael Franti does that. There's some people that make that experience so memorable. And I'm not saying that's not what you're doing. You're doing it. But there is something that they do that
did.
maybe
That's the crux, bro. I'm telling you.
you're saying none of those people are putting any bodies in rooms anymore?
No. They are. They're still putting, but they're doing all stuff if they did. If you go and you find me one person, okay, that blew up without social media over the last 5 years.
I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying.
I'll
I'm not
suck
saying
your
you
dick
can't
right
do
here
it.
in this
I'm not
office.
saying you can remove social media from the equation.
I'm just what I'm trying to say is people keep bringing up what has happened pre-COVID. Let's just say pre-COVID, right? People keep bringing up things that happened to artists pre-COVID. Okay, that was 4 years ago. It was a completely different world back then. And that is my complaint. My complaint is that's what I'm trying to get to. My complaint is we have fucked the pooch so bad as society since COVID. And I'm not blaming on COVID. I'm just saying since 2020, right? Because 2019, Coetzel blew up out of nowhere using no radio, right? There's definitely people, Cody Jinks, there's definitely people that blew up before that. After that point, it was, these are who's blown up. Tyler Childers. And I'm talking about in my world. Tyler Childers, Zach Bryan, Oliver Anthony, Warren Zeters, Bailey Zimmerman. I can go down the list of 15, 20 folks, right, that blew up because they did something on social media. I'm not saying what. I'm not trying to break down what they did. There's no one that has blown up in the music scene that wasn't because of that.
Right.
And so I guess that's why I'm this knight on this fucking white horse, right, about this whole shit, is because I saw the way it was before 2020 and the way it is now. And all I'm trying to do is just save a little splinter of what it was like before. And now society, like, you know, the way I talk about it all the time, and the reason I'm ready to quit. I'm ready to quit and give the fuck up because society has taken my happy place away from me. Okay. Now, when I go out and I get on a stage, that one thing, that happy place, what I was telling you before, that when I'm in front of a stage and I have them right here, right? It's nearly impossible now. I'm not saying it is impossible. It's nearly impossible now. And so that's what I'm trying to fix. The way we have done it is brokenness, right? And how do we fix it? And that's everything that I do. That's what it's about. You know, when I post a post like I did yesterday, or just whatever I do, whenever I talk to anybody, that's just what it's about, you know? And I know that the way I come across is going to piss some people off.
Well, but a bitchy booker isn't the reason audiences aren't listening.
They have a big part. No, actually, no. The bookers are a huge part. The bookers and the venues are a huge part of why people are listening.
But not the way they talk to you on a Sunday.
But if they're
if you want to attack bookers,
but what that tells
reason to.
Okay, but what that tells me is by reacting me that way on a Sunday is that they're not in this.
Okay,
and
fair. Or she's having a shitty Sunday and mad because people text, and you were the third text she got.
No.
I give you 1,000 reasons that might be the case.
I can tell you right now.
She also just might be an uncaring, totally doesn't give a shit about music.
Exactly, and she's a gatekeeper, and that's what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say right now is you have all of these gatekeepers in place, and I know, and you know, somebody called me a victim yesterday, and I'm not trying to be a victim.
No.
You know, this is not a victim mentality.
Well, you're an artist trying to make a living. This is the road. It's like there is it's not victimhood. Oh, my feet hurt, bitch. This is a rocky road, and they don't sell shoes. Like this is you're on it. That's so no. There's no victimhood.
And so what I'm saying is the gatekeepers, the people that are keeping, again, the two most important people in the equation. I don't care what anybody says, the artist and the audience. We can, if with the right fan base, we don't need your venue.
Right.
We could do it in a field.
Yes.
Festivals.
Yes.
Okay. With the right fan base, I don't need a booker because the venues will book me.
Right.
Because I have the right fan base. So the overall goal is not your internet radio station. The overall goal is not your venue. The overall goal, I know it is to you. That's your to you. That is your goal. But for us, for the artist and the fans, that's the case. You know, the fan doesn't care what venue he goes to watch his favorite artist at. No. So that tells me that your venue doesn't matter, and I'm not trying to say to venue owners that you don't matter. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is you're not as important in this music industry equation as you think you are. Same with a radio station. Your radio station is for one thing only, and that is to get music. Without any of the bands, you have no radio station. Without any of the listeners, you have no radio station.
Right.
Those two are and so what all I want to do is get us back, and I'm sure you're the same way with comedy, get us back to where those two people are treated as the most important two people in the room and not your own bullshit. And I'm just telling you, in the entertainment industry, we don't get days off. You know, not only that, she owns her own booking agency. You're a business owner. If you're a business owner, you don't get a day off.
Those are your rules.
No, okay.
I'm not arguing with you.
You can go down and
multiple business owner. I never have a day off.
Exactly,
but
you
some
can go,
people do.
And you can go down and you can read. They do when they get it to a certain point, right? And so, and again, it's not even about necessarily you taking your time off. I take some time down, right? It's how you interact with people when they interrupt that time down, because we don't get a day off. You know what I mean? Yeah. We don't get a day off. And I'm sorry that I interrupted your church sermon at 11:15 on Sunday. I'm sorry. You know, I'm sorry. But short of me having my phone, everyone's schedule on when I can and cannot text them.
Which is, of course,
Yeah.
it's impossible. You
Right.
you didn't do anything wrong.
No, and then she wants to give me a lesson. And that's whenever, dude, when someone wants to give me a lesson, that's when I lose it. I fucking lose it if it's a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
If it was a lesson, I'd go to church.
Uh-huh.
I don't need a lesson.
No, of course you don't. You're a grown-ass man. You shouldn't be in that conversation with her in the first place.
Well, you're right.
Just take her out of your phone the minute she sends back some nonsensical bullshit.
I
like
wish I could do that. Dude, I would give anything. And you know me, dude. I've changed a lot about myself for the last 5 years. I would give anything if I could fix that. I would give anything if I keep my mouth shut. But I'm that same way with my kid's baseball team. I'm that same way with my kid.
I've been this dude. I feel it.
You know,
I can't point a single finger or say a single thing's wrong with it.
I wish
I'm
I
not
could fix
finding fault.
I wish I could fix it.
I'm
man.
just acknowledging.
I
that
wish I'd give anything. I would give anything if Candace says something and I didn't have a response for it. I could just listen to it.
But okay, so this is there's no way you don't come up with the response. My brain does nothing but think of things I shouldn't say 24/7. It's a machine.
Oh, the world doesn't see the shit that I don't post.
That's what I mean. It's so all it is just not posting one or two more things. And I don't mean posting, but even conversationally, I've just had to stop myself in so many instances where I'm like, because I think back to, right, and this is all fresh because I'm digging into it for the new show, but the psychotic crazy ex I was in the relationship with many, many moons ago, and how we would interact in those senses, and how I have a governor, right? Like we all think crazy shit, man. It's we just, there's a filter that snaps into place before any of it
Is there?
goes into the real. That's what I'm saying, right? With the crazy ex, she didn't have it. She would just do it all. But if I'm on an escalator, right? I'm on an escalator. I got a bunch of bags. I'm trying to get down it. And there's some old woman just huffing oxygen right in front of me. And I can't get past her. There's a part of my brain that just kick this old bitch down the escalator. Like your brain says it. And
Right.
then you picture her tumbling Mortal Kombat, like see-through X-ray brains and blood and bones and fall. And she lays like that. And then your brain goes, cut. That's not a thing that's ever going to happen. And you just hold your bags and huff them around her when you're done. Some people kick the bitch down the escalator. And all I'm saying is somewhere in there, we all draw our little lines, right? Before we get to kicking her down the escalator, we got a governor that kicks in. And I just have tried to move mine back to a place that doesn't, because I used to fight everything, right? I used to be,
I know.
whatever. It was, you do know. And I remember where I heard this, but
Most of my friends are exactly, or have been at one point like me.
But when I ask myself what I'm really trying to accomplish and how much of the stuff I'm doing is actually in service of that, or how much of that is just me pretending to be busy or altruistic or all this other stuff, the question, I forget where I heard it, but it was, is your job to cross the swamp or fight all the alligators? And I was like, oh, wait, that's some real, because I'm an alligator fighting son of a bitch. This is what I do. I like punching gators in the face. It makes my knuckles feel good. Yeah. And I'm like, but what I really want is to be out of this swamp. And if I stop and fight every gator, I'm never going to get there. Like, I should stop and build a swamp boat and kill some mink and make a coat. And I should take the pussy willow or whatever there is that's usable here and put it in my P-row. And then I should start rowing, because fighting alligators is not really as cool as it used to be.
Yeah.
I'm old.
Yeah, that is definitely a thing. Yeah.
So,
age. How old are you?
About to be 47, 48. About to be 48, Jeff.
You're old, bro.
I know.
I'm 45. I'm right behind.
But with it has come, just some understanding, and it's like, oh, I now know some faster ways for me to be.
Yeah. And every day, I pretty much learn something new. I mean, one of my goal is always just get 1% better every day. It's what's my goal has always been as a musician, as an artist, songwriter, person, human being.
Little ticks.
I just I know what you're saying right now. There's a little part down in the deep canyons of my mind that tells me that every day. Like, is the juice worth the squeeze?
That's a huge question. And furthermore, it's I'm constantly asking myself what behaviors I'm displaying that are in my own way.
Yeah.
Like, because I just put the blinders on and I just go, I got to do this because this is what I do.
Yeah.
And I've just done that in so many places where I've stopped. And if you could put a little bit of a just objective lens on it and go, man, all right, pretend this was somebody else. Pretend this is just a friend of mine and they're doing X, 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 and X. And if I remove the Slade Ham label from it and comedy from it and just, I've yelled at me over stuff like, what are you doing? This is insane behavior. You wouldn't let a friend of yours act like this. Why are your expectations so unrealistic with these people? What do you think that they owe you? Or like what I got
right, and that's what it is. And I get on to Candace about it sometimes. That's what it is. It's about managing your expectations.
You have to have zero almost.
You do, and that's my problem. Is in some areas I still have unrealistic expectations. And not only that, bro. Just to break it down, very fucking simple. Sometimes I just want to be a petty bitch.
Fair.
Sometimes I just want to throw a fucking fit.
I just wanted to hear you say that. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, sometimes I do.
Tell me it feels good and I got you.
Sometimes I just want to be a petty fucking bitch, man. Sometimes something offended me or upset me in such a way like what happened yesterday.
Yes.
That I was in shock, dude. Mm-hmm. And it's not like I got offended by something trivial. Right? No. I mean, I guess some people would see it that way. It was like, this is what you have to realize when you're not an artist, and you're somebody that's in the industry, right? We're artists. We're left-brained, sensitive people. We bring everything in. We overthink things. We like real artists, we day internalize everything.
Every day hinges on the unknown. Every day involves reinventing how you approach the world in the hopes that someone will find what you do creative enough to support you. I mean,
so imagine having somebody like me, like you, where you're 18 years into this career. You've been given it. I mean, it's not in my case, I don't know about you, but in my case, it's not like I've just been doing this kind of on the side.
That's what you've done.
And I still go out and have hobbies and do things. Like this, I have put 100% of my being into this. 100%. Right? Mm-hmm. And so when we do something and put it out there, when it gets met with, sorry, I don't have time for you today, right? Whether it's them or whether it's a radio station or it's a venue that won't even answer your email. Like, send me an email telling me I suck and you don't want to book me, or that I'm too political and you don't want to book me, or I'm too divisive, you don't want to book me, or I cuss too much. That's fine. Send me that. But you don't answer it back. Like, there's no, and so, we've put so much time and effort and energy into building this thing that we have, and then you just shit on it. Mm-hmm. And that's the way, and it hurts. And I'm just one of those people that when that happens, I'm going to call it out, as opposed to someone who plays it safe and doesn't. And I'm not knocking that. I think it's awesome that you can do that.
Right.
I just don't have that. I don't have that in my DNA.
That's fair.
And it sucks.
It just
kind of, but also part of it's awesome.
Consider that it might not be genetic, and it might be something that can be corrected if you want it corrected. And I'm not saying you should correct it.
Right.
I think it's very important for us, no matter what we do as artists, no matter what stance we take or what our brand is or what we choose to publicly do, we just got to own our shit. And I can't do certain things online under the pretense that they're fixing this or helping this or I'm involved in this fight, when the truth is, like, man, I just wanted to punch something today. Yeah. That's really the truth. I woke up a little frustrated. You said the wrong thing, and I just you were in the way of the laser beam. That's where I got to be honest.
That's what that was yesterday, for sure.
That's all. And as long as we're doing that, then it's cool, because then when we do an assessment of ourselves and we sit down and go, all right, how did I spend my time last month? You do find what was okay, man, I was 90% this, and then this little 10% over here was just petty as shit. These 3 things I said to these 3 people was really petty. I'm going to do my best to not do that 3 times this month. I'm going to allow myself 1 petty backhand. And you just try to ratchet it down, and you realize one day it's like, you know what, man, maybe my energy that's it. That's what it was for me. Yeah. I just got tired of slapping people that shouldn't have been in the ring with me in the first place. That's kind of how'd you get in here? Now I just remove them. You say something that you just blocked from everything I do for the rest of perpetuity.
Yeah. I do that too. I just throw a punch on while doing it.
I can't fight with you, man.
Like I said, when you
these old scarred knuckles.
I think some people, when they light that match and they burn that bridge, while they throw it immediately it's like guilt.
Oh.
Immediately it's like, fuck, I shouldn't have thrown that match. Where me, I've let it get to the point where that match is the only like that, and to me that match is that's it. If that match has to be thrown.
Right, but it's you just have to pick the bridges that the bridge is in the way and not just arson on the drive-by.
No,
right? I was headed that way anyway. Let me Molotov cocktail this place.
Yeah.
I'd rather look at it and go, you know what? Structurally, these old beat-up beams won't let me cross the river. Somebody bring me the flamethrower and let me get this out of my way because I'm headed to that other side of the swamp.
Enough about that shit. Let's talk about comedy. Goddamn. Let's talk about comedy. So the special. Let's talk about the special.
Yeah, I made one.
Man, so Candace and I pulled it up on YouTube the day it came out, and I was looking forward to it all week. I actually canceled a show so I could stay home so I could watch it.
That's awesome.
It's great, man. It's great, and it looks. I mean, it's up there to me, looks wise, like just like conceptually, visually,
production.
It looks better or on the same level as anything that I've seen on Netflix or Amazon or from the people that are making the big bucks.
Yeah.
You know, it looks great. The jokes are on point. It's well thought out. Some of the stuff is like if I didn't know you, I would just be like, I fucking hate that guy. Just because it's like everything is so thought out. Like every single joke is to the point where it's just every word is finding a landing spot, if that makes sense. Yeah. And it's really cool to watch because I watch a lot of comedy specials that are not like that, you know? And you know me, I'm a huge comedy fan.
Big fan.
Like, I tell you what, if I could figure out a way to, like, instantaneously become a fucking comedian, like a stand-up comedian, and not have to go through the fucking 10 years of open mic bullshit, I would love it.
Of course.
I would love it.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I'd be a rock star if I could do that the other way around.
Exactly. So, you know, what I'm hoping is that one day I'll be able to meld the two. And I do.
Yeah.
You know, I meld the two
together. You got
together.
a fun hybrid.
Yeah. But it's like stand-up comedy is and it's the only art form still left, in my opinion, that is still just pure to the brain. Like pure, you're getting a direct shot to the brain of the comedian. Yeah. It's the only art form that's like that.
In
my opinion.
And we still do. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some of it's masked underneath stories and things, but you are getting an idea as purely, I think, as you can, right? Like probably the least amount of metaphor maybe, or even when we bury it all in metaphor, we reveal the metaphor, right? Like there's always because comedy relies on the ta-da. It relies on you putting together what we put together. And when you see that connection, that epiphany is what makes you hopefully sit up and laugh. So we kind of don't get the luxury of, I can't really tell you what that joke was about. Right. Like,
and we can.
Yeah. You can write a Yellow Ledbetter. I have to, everything's got to.
Or any Nirvana song.
I could, man, it's something that where you're like, I don't even understand a single word. Was that in Mongolian?
Yeah.
What did they just sing in? But with comedy, it's, by the time I get to the end, now you can do something and have layers and layers and layers. And by the time someone's done, you've buried something so deep that it's, oh, wait, that joke was about that? Dear God.
Right.
But for the most part, comedy is, I'll make you think it's this until I reveal that it's that. And then ta-da, all the covers and there's nothing left. You guys, with music, it's one thing. With painting or something else, it's even less, right? You don't even get the luxury of a verbal description to go along with it. You can title the painting, but that's it. Otherwise, it's just the audience figuring out what that means. So, with comedy, it's pretty direct.
The bit that was the funniest to me, and I don't know if it was the funniest because it was the funniest or was the funniest because Candace's reaction to it, because she like verbally fucking like laughed out loud.
The audience you watch something with has a lot to do with what you find funny.
She had to pull a pillow over her head and turn away from the TV for a second. Is whenever you were talking about the fucking terrorist and you said, I don't even think they're mad at us. I just think that I don't know if I could. I'm
I think
sorry.
They blow themselves up to cool off.
Yeah, I don't want to step on your bits or anything. I know that's against the rules, but yeah, it's dude. The terrorist bit was so fucking funny, dude. Like a little pee came out. I'm not kidding.
That's
it was
perfect.
so great, and there were tons of them, man. It was just such a well thought out hour. Like it was like this is, but it didn't come across as a well thought out hour.
I know what you're saying,
right?
Yeah,
it came across as just you up there on stage being comfortable in your zone, right? And it just that's what it felt like. But I know. Breaking everything down that it's like, because that's what I did. I watched it like 3 times. So I went back and I was like, I started breaking things down and being like, okay, because I love it. I love stand up comedy. I love it. I mean, if I could make this podcast every other one be a comedian, I would, like, for sure.
Yeah.
For
It's comedy to me.
But some of y'all are not funny.
No, well,
off
and
the stage.
also in this, this is a different muscle. Conversational funny is so the way
Right.
a lot of comics get into stand up because they were conversationally funny, right? But they were conversationally funny in a group. All those people who are like, my friends all say I should do stand up.
Guys like me, yeah.
I know exactly, but guys like you are very funny in the group dynamic,
Yeah.
right? Because your job to spike the volleyball.
Right.
Stand up requires a totally different muscle set because you have to serve, bump, set, spike, run around to the other side of the net, dig, bump, set, spike, and for an hour.
Are you really making a gay volleyball metaphor?
It's the only sport it looked like you didn't know how to play. So, you look like your big muscular ass has done everything but volleyball.
Hey, I'm not muscular. It just looks that way.
Yeah, but you're
I'm
big.
just a big dude.
You're big bone, whatever. I don't know what's underneath all
I've
that.
probably played more volleyball than any other sport.
Because you're like 6'9" or something. But you don't look like a volleyball player. You look like a dude who bitches about people playing volleyball. Stop ruining the beach. We're trying to drink beer and throw footballs.
Yeah,
That's what you
perfect.
look like. So
Yep.
that's what stand-up comedy is, and that's why you're not good at it.
Yeah. Oh,
Because I don't think you would sit down long enough to connect all the dots in a
Right.
stand-up.
100%.
You would be what I was for a very long time as a stand-up. And if you look at what the me you met, right? The me in 2008, 9, 10, whatever that was when I was doing stand-up in the old Laugh Stop and Sherlock's and all that, I was a mercenary, right? I had a quiver full of arrows. And I would go up live and I would get just as drunk as everybody else in the crowd. And I could miraculously shoot a bow and arrow drunk. And I was firing apples off of people's heads. And I was deciding where the apples were on the fly. Guess what? We're going to talk about these apples now. The difference now is that I'm not just grabbing random thoughts and putting them together in a live show. I'm still great at that. That's what you should come see me do. It's fucking wild.
yeah.
But the art of making a special like this is different, where I sat down conceptually, you sort of build it from the top down. Here's the idea and the theme and what really goes in here. And now I'm doing all the surgical parts of the little punchlines. And then you learn to braid all that together and what reconnects here. And it's like a classical music piece, right? Where the instruments are coming in and out. And by the time you're done, ta-da, it's this thing. And that's so different from the live shows. So stand-up comics, we spend a lot of time trying to figure out this second part, and we're naturally that first part, and it's just a weird mess. If you finally get it right, you're like, oh, I can do both in a cool little way. But that conversational thing that you do, which is what I love, that's why I like hanging out with you.
Yeah.
You're the funny guy.
Yeah,
You're just spiking volleyballs.
I don't try to be funny. I just try to speak what's on my mind. You know, let it fall where it may.
Yeah.
Not like I'm thinking about, hey, this needs
I'm
to
not
be
patting
funny.
you on the back too much. You're not hilarious.
No,
You're
I
funny.
get it. I mean, you know.
Well, let me downplay my comedic genius. Nobody said that.
No. The cool thing about funny or good or music or comedy or any of that stuff is it's all subjective. Everything's subjective. You know what I mean? Like some people think that Matt Rife is the funniest person on the planet. I think some of the stuff he does is fucking hilarious. I watched this special and I'm like, meh.
Because he's really good at that first part.
Right.
He's a very clever. I'm not saying his jokes.
He's just witty and quick.
He's a funny, solid comic.
Right.
But I think he excels at the crowd work stuff and piecing together. Like it's like being a conductor of a drunk orchestra when you're doing good crowd work.
You are the fucking. You are the king of fucking metaphors. like every single goddamn statement.
My brain thinks that way.
It's so funny to me.
But it's because
okay, so explain the metaphors. Explain to me.
All right, stand up. Everything is metaphor. Everything is a comparison in my brain.
Your art.
But
you'll spit fucking you'll be talking to a lady at the fucking grocery store at the counter and you'll start spitting metaphors
because my brain is always thinking.
Damn, you're way fucking loud. Sorry. You can't be screaming fuck, there's people in here. Sorry.
We just get in trouble.
I get aggressively energetic.
Me too.
That guy came to the door anyway, the point is
That's my brother.
I'm just joking. I was gonna make a similar metaphor. My brain is always looking at, because when I'm writing comedy is about showing you how things that are similar are different and how things that are different are similar. That's what a lot of comedy is, overlapping those things. And then when I show you how a dog is like something else, and you oh wow, that is like having a dog, you know, being in a relationship, or we're going to the refrigerator and you start showing the connections. Oh yeah, I get it. So my brain is always thinking like that. How is this like that, or like this last thing, or whatever? And then as I'm communicating to people, I just assume that no one ever knows what I'm talking about, and I just have to describe it to them in other terms. And fortunately, my brain is already like, oh, well, everything's already like this. Let me try this. I don't know why I'm like that.
Yeah.
I do it a lot.
Yeah, it's you definitely do it more than anybody I've ever seen in my life.
I don't know if it's healthy or
No, it's great. I like it. I mean, you know, the cool thing about hanging out with you and BC are very similar in that is like there's always just like you're always on like this. I don't know. You guys are just so in touch with the universe. It feels like if I can say it that way.
Brian Carrion
know.
Brian's me and him have traveled together a lot. We did 2 or 3 weeks in Guatemala together. We've gone on some tours together through Africa, like professionally and personally. I love hanging out with him. Brian is also always curious. Things will spark his interest. Oh man, I don't know anything about. It'll be a lot of musical stuff, right? Where he's playing with just different ideas or instruments or stuff, and I want to know what'll happen if. And when people just start their questions, like their all their sentences that way, what if? Those are the people I gravitate to, because I'm constantly doing the same thing. All right, well, shit, what's something that's over here on the edge of where I'm comfortable? Because I'm so bored every day doing the same thing. I couldn't do it. That's why I don't have a job. I would have never made it there. And even with stand-up, I find myself all the time where I'm like asking that question. Okay, cool. I know how to make a special. How do you make a special? And then what happens after that? Like, what are the boundaries? And I think Brian's very much one of those people. How can I play out there where I'm almost uncomfortable?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm there a little bit for sure, but it takes me a while to get myself there.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like once I'm there, I'm like, this is fucking rad.
Yeah.
But it just takes me a while to push myself there.
I've found playing out there is where all the cool stuff I've created has come from.
Yeah.
And nobody likes being out there in the uncomfortableness, right? Yeah. It's now cliche, but people say no one likes to write. People like having written, right? No one even likes making an album. You like having made an album.
Right.
I didn't like making that year, if I'm being perfectly honest about it, was hell. I mean, nights of stacks of note cards and papers and writing and going up and coming back and watching tape till I'm so sick of my voice I can't even hear it. And then forcing yourselves to actually write the jokes and do these things and production decisions I don't want to be making, and the stress of all of that. That's not an enjoyable process. What's enjoyable is having done all that. So that's where I've just learned. I've got a few victories now that are like, all right, man, I've caught enough fish to make me go out to the dock over and over and over.
Yeah, that's the way it is. Like sometimes a song, like I'll get so fucking mad at a song. Mm-hmm. Like at a song, something that I created, and I'm just like, just do what I want you to do, song. like why are you being a bitch right now? And it's funny whenever you get in that, because you're just like you got to overcome that, or you just got to toss the song. Sometimes the song is just not going to work, and I'm sure jokes are the same way.
100%. But I've shoved those. So something that's coming up with this new special. I'm sort of mining some old stuff I've done about this old relationship. And the truth is, the me that tried to talk about it, when I tried to talk about it, wasn't capable. Not as a comic, not as a human. Like, there was so much anger in it. I wasn't really sure my role. So much stuff. Now I'm able to look back at it. I'm like, oh, not only were these things you wrote really, really solid starting, like some of this is, you just didn't know how to tell it or do it at the time. So I'm very careful now, even when I get a big idea or something where I muck with it and I play with it and it doesn't work, and I'm like, I should just chunk this. I should chunk this to the notebook that I revisit every 2 or 3 years.
I call it the bone pile.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I call it.
There's a lot of good stuff in the bone pile.
Yeah. I have tons. Every now and then I'll just go back and start scrolling through it when I'm in a down spot. I'll just go through it and I'll be like, oh. Mm-hmm. And then, you know what's really funny is sometimes I'm so fucking simple-minded, dude. Sometimes I'll read something, I'm like, I didn't write that.
Yeah.
There's no fucking way that came out of my brain.
Because that's really good.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just no way.
But you didn't, wherever you were at the time you wrote it or the time you kind of looked at it right after that, the pieces weren't in place. What
Right.
you were thinking about, focused on, dealing with, it wasn't meant for that. But the idea, as long as you're still capturing them and letting them happen and, you know, not just, oh, that's a stupid idea. Man, fuck, everything goes in that book.
Yeah.
And future me will sort it out. Let him decide if these are bad ideas. You
Right.
know, but that gives you starting points when you finish something. All right, what next? There's something to chew on. Nothing scares me more than that total vacuum.
So with the YouTube thing, are you hoping that a distribution, like not a distribution, but like an Amazon picks it up, or you just that's it? You just put it out there.
So
and
we're
that's it?
talking to. It's going to end up on Tubi. It will end up on Amazon. Like there's some other distribution options that come with self-distributing, right? Where we can go in and strike independent deals with each one of these places. The upside to a distributor is they do it all. They just they go do everything. But the deals they were offering, back to the middleman conversation we were having earlier, terrible. You don't get this much of what I made for nothing.
Right.
And definitely not forever. Like you're giving me no reversionary rights, none of this stuff. I mean, and I just looked at it all and I went, what is the goal? Right? Do I want to be able to say that it's in all these places because that looks good? Because if I do go that route, no one's going to see it.
Yeah.
That's not the route to people seeing it. That's the route to something different. That's the route to the game. That's the route. Now I'm in that pipeline
Right.
with all those guys, and I don't want to be there. I want this direct connection to people. So the cool part is there's no paywall. It's just there. And the watch time on it is insane. It's not like these are 7-minute watches or people coming in and just ducking out. Like it's got like a 70-80% watch. It's nuts.
Awesome.
And the only fall off comes in people. I intentionally have this intro, right? It's not straight to the jokes. I intentionally broke protocol. I did this totally different because I wanted this to be a certain thing. And I knew there was going to be a little bit of a drop off, people who couldn't make it through the intro. And then I realized I don't want those people. They're not my people. If you can't make it through a 56-second intro that's cinematically shot, if you can't make it through that, you're never going to make it through an 8-minute story
Right.
at one of my, you're not my people.
Yeah.
So I'm now able to connect directly with, not having to deal with comedy dynamics, comments, and what they allow and what I can do. And then me coming in, hey, by the way, I'm the guy who made it. Could you come over to my page? All of that's nuts. I got a friend who released a special on another big comics platform. The comic he released it on that guy's got 750,000 followers. You know how many watches that special has? The same as mine.
Right.
Except I own mine. It's
Yeah.
on my platform with my people, and I get the direct and that's the part that helps me sleep at night, because I spent that year not out there punching the gators, man, just swamp boots on. And now I'm like, oh wait, the land's starting to feel a little bit firm. You know what? I'm gonna make a little pallet here and take a nap for a minute and just know that I've built a safe place for myself in this dumb madness.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. I think if I didn't have that special right now, I'd probably be looking at not a different career, but certainly different avenues.
Well, that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's like, overall, I have to make money because I have to pay my bills.
Mhm.
Okay. But at the end of the day, like I said, the two most important things are me and the audience.
Mhm.
And everything in between there to get to the audience costs so much money. So it's like you said earlier, you have to go out and you have to play these shows and make a little money. And hopefully there's enough to peel off a little bit to get more stuff to the audience. And I'm just at the point now where it's like I can make money. Like I've proven it. I've made 6 figures for years just playing guitar,
Yeah.
right? I can do that. That part's easy. But that's not the goal. My goal is not to make money. My goal is to get myself in front of as many people as I can and build that big fan base. And so now it's like, okay, what the problem coming from now is what I do for money is starting to interfere with that goal of getting in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, okay, I think it might be time to just say, I got to stop doing this for money
Mm-hmm.
and just do this for the love of the art. And so
I
just trying to figure out that balance.
I think you're going to find, if you make your decisions not financially driven,
Right.
you're going to end up where you want to be.
And I try not to, but it just gets so hard when you look at your bank account. And you have
And
nothing
we've
left,
talked about that, and I know the nuts and there's certain unavoidable things, but I would just ask myself and they're fun philosophical exercises, right? Like you can just ask yourself, all right, what if that was like, what if what if the money didn't actually matter, right? What if I didn't need this much a month?
Right.
What would I do? Like, what would that look like? And if you just run that hypothetical out a few times, you're like, you know what, man, one of these ways sounds more manageable than what I'm currently doing. Let me just try it.
Yeah.
What do you lose by, you know?
Yeah, and that's what I've been doing. You know, I hired an entertainment lawyer. They're going through and breaking down all my stuff to make sure that I'm getting the most amount of money in all the avenues.
Yeah.
And so that sort of stuff. But so what's next?
This new special in the book.
So you're gonna do another special?
It's already, yeah. I'm already with any luck, I will shoot. What is this right now? It's April of 2024. I'd like to be shooting in a year and a half.
Yeah.
Probably a year and a half. I'd like to shoot the end of 2025.
She's ramping up for the special.
Yeah, I think.
And then the book.
So I'm writing the book currently, and that'll
be your second book.
Yeah.
The first one's pretty good.
It's fun, but I'm a better writer. Like I've learned,
Yeah.
I've just learned. So I look back at that book so fondly because the stories are great, but it's a collection of really good stories.
Maybe that's what I do. Is just write a book and get it over with.
I think
Stop fighting on the internet and just write a book.
You need to figure out what you're trying to say, right? Because, and this is my take on you personally. You should maybe try to figure out what you're trying to say right now, because you can't do it. You can't say everything. You can't do everything. You gotta. All right, this is my project at the moment. Here's Jeff Canada, the brand and the musician. But what's Jeff Canada working on right now? I can tell you exactly what I'm working on. Right? I know when I get up tomorrow morning what I'm building. I don't know how yet. I don't have any of the money for it. I'm absolutely as broke as I've ever been because I just put everything I own into this last special. So I know, though, that every time I do this and every time I've ever done this and every time I've tried anything like it, they all happen. And the ones that don't shouldn't have. And I'm kind of glad. And I learned something from that utter collapse. So I'm just kind of going into this with that same blind trust that managed to get these last 3 specials done and the Whiskey Brothers stuff and that special and the podcast and the book and these same muscles, they work.
Yeah.
And that's what I think. If you just really trust yourself to see what you actually like, maybe it is a book, but figuring out, narrowing down, this is the thing that I'm chewing on. This is the emotion. This is what let me figure out what that looks like as art. Let me make it so that I don't have to chew on it every day.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
It's a great idea.
For me, it was that special. It's called Signal Noise. It's literally about cutting through the bullshit and about what's important and what's not. About making something that rises above all of the stuff we're talking about today. That is noticeable and actionable, and you go, oh wow, yeah, that guy's great at what he does. And not because I made a bunch of bullshit cell phone 30-second clips, because I made something no one else could make.
Yeah.
And that's why when I sit down and think of this new stuff, it's all about survival. And it's the survival mentality we have in relationships and how we look at things in survival, like as people, survivalists and wildlife. Like all of this emotion is around survival and then how that interconnects. I still don't know. Yeah. But that's what I'm chewing on, so that in 2 years when this special comes out, I don't have to be still processing this thing that happened 15 or 20 years. Like I get to put it in order and decide this is what that story is. God damn it, for the rest of forever. And now I get to move on to a different project.
Yeah.
And that's, figure out what this is you're chewing on.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Cool.
What do I know?
Yeah. What do we all know? Let's get out of here. I don't think I'm gonna be able to be myself if I'm gonna have to be choking down on what I'm saying.
You don't have to do anything.
No, I'm
at
talking
all.
about with this whole situation. So we'll just go ahead and call this one a day. I'm gonna have to figure something out better, because if I can't come in here and
see, look at you. One of us is more irritated by this.
No, I'm
than
not
the other.
irritated. No, I'm not irritated. I just, it's one of those things where it's just like I look at it as, okay, first of all, I don't know what's going on over here in this next office
Totally
over
fair.
here. That's I don't even know that was a thing.
Right.
It's just I want to be free to be able to express myself the way I want to be expressed myself. That's the whole purpose of this podcast. And if I can't do that, and I'm not knocking, I'm not mad, I'm not upset at all. Like, I get it, it's his business. Like, I'm not upset. That would be stupid. I know that I'm not going to be able to give the best product that I possibly can, because I'm going to be choking down even volume wise what I'm trying to say. And, it's just one of those things, you know what I mean? And not only that, you're one of my best friends. I can always get you back in here in 3 or 4 more months. And,
of course.
And we can do this again.
A million times.
It's like, yeah. And that's my goal. My goal is to find, like, the guests that are, like, charismatic, like you, and then, bring in other guests in between, but, like, start to get repeat guests that I know are really good.
And we'll bring in people who will bring something useful to talk about, too. That's not just over and over repetitive.
Right. Because sometimes these guests come in here, and it's just like, I'm just trying everything I can do to pry them out, and you just can't.
Well, a lot of
Not
people
knocking 'em,
haven't,
but-
but a lot of people haven't. This is what we forget, man. We assume just because an artist is adept at one thing, like that they might have other skills. Some people, just because they write great songs and
Right.
have good voices, doesn't mean they've thought their worlds out. Like they,
Yeah.
for the most part, people's brains are these jumbled piles of just messy chaos. And those of us that sit down and go, man, let me take a look at my life and examine myself a little and see if I can make some of this make sense.
Right.
And then it allows you to sit down, and when someone asks a question, you're not going, oh wait, what do I think about this? Like,
Yeah.
no, I've actually got some opinion. I'll change it. Don't hold me to any of this shit. But here's what I think today.
Yeah. So we'll just put a cork in it or whatever, pin in it. Put a pin in it.
Put a can of pinned corks
in it.
Let's do that.
And we'll get back together here shortly. What I need to do is I'll probably just need to start doing these shows after 6 p.m.
That would
here.
also work.
And
This
that
would be a
good.
fun. This would be a fun after dark vibe.
Yeah. Well, I've done it a few times. It's just hard to make that work with, what little personal life I have is usually at night, not early in the week. So cool, man. Well, I love you, brother. You're awesome.
Love you back. Thanks for letting me pimp the special. Y'all go watch it.
It's awesome. It's great. Can't wait to see what little clips I get out of this little gym.
It's gonna be so fun.
All right, dude. Later.